Welcome to Wednesday. It is the first day of October 2025. This Day Weather Podcast brought to you by the Advocates Injury Attorneys. If you've been injured in an accident, don't face it alone. Get an experienced local Wyoming attorney on your side. Free consultations at wyomingadvocates.com or call 307-800-1952. You deserve an advocate. More beautiful fall colors to show you with some photos this morning all across the Intermountain West for the first 3 days of October. I think everyone's going to like it. Temperatures are going to be warm, above average, and we'll have a little bit of still some spotty shower and thunderstorm activity here and there. There's just moisture in the air drifting across the western United States, increasing some in the Pacific Northwest. So here and there, sprinkled about the region, will be a few showers and thunderstorms. Otherwise, blue sky, puffy clouds, and comfortably warm temperatures for the first 3 days of the month. That's why there's however in the title there, because we have this storm system approaching over the weekend, and it is going to be a weather maker. This is especially true for Montana, Wyoming, Idaho, Alberta, Saskatchewan, parts of British Columbia, and then even into the high country of Utah and Colorado. We're going to see this system bring in some colder, wet weather conditions Saturday through Monday. And we are going to experience some near freezing or below freezing temperatures for some of you. We'll show you where that's going to be most likely. Long term, it still looks busy once we get this pattern change. Although past 5 days, be wary of any long-range forecast you see, whether it's on your phone, whether it's on your favorite website or your favorite TV station. Going past 5 days is futile. But there's just a lot going on this time of year. With the daylight changing by minutes every day, a lot's going on with the weather, and it's just very complicated. Lots of variables changing very quickly for the models to keep up on. So we're just going to kind of take it one day at a time. We'll show you what the long-range charts are showing you, which is a lot of activity, but a lot of disagreement as well. A beautiful shot from near Big Piney of those row of aspen along the roads. Just love those photos. Great shot of colors there in the Laramie Valley. Still a little bit of snow, fresh snow left on the peaks near Leadville. And between Cheyenne and Laramie, this time of year, wow, really early October, that's an area where these colors peak up there. Nice rainbow from eastern Idaho. And so we've gotten more photos and some video in from the aurora borealis that has happened over the last couple of nights, Sunday night and into Monday night and Tuesday morning. We have another Jan Curtis time lapse from Cheyenne of the aurora coming in from his GoPro there. You can see the colors there on the horizon, kind of coming and kind of going. But we have a lot of activity. In fact, the geomagnetic activity remains high, so auroras could still be popping up. Now, here's a great shot of what's called Steve. It's named Steve for a reason, but Ed caught this in Grable the night before. It's a phenomenon that happens where you get an aurora that looks like this, and that's what the acronym stands for. And a lot of Steves being reported over the last couple of nights all across the northern hemisphere. And another shot there by the Glen Rock area of the aurora. And then yesterday and even this morning, shower and thunderstorm activity going on across parts of central Nebraska down into portions of Kansas. Due to this mid and high level moisture that is still just kind of hanging around, there's been nothing to sweep it out yet. Beautiful shot out of Spearfish Canyon there in the Black Hills. And as Dennis said, just another average Wyoming sunset. Average is pretty good, I think. And we've had a lot of rainbows lately with these showers, and more evidence of that yesterday across east central Wyoming. And these beautiful sunrises and sunsets will continue. Well, it really sticks out, that low off British Columbia, doesn't it? The swirl of clouds with that deep low that is just off the coast of the Pacific Northwest. Elsewhere across the Intermountain West, we've got some clouds, some patches of moisture. That's why we're going to see these showers and thunderstorms. If we were to zoom in a little bit, just to show you the structure of this system, there's your classic cyclone structure of the storm reaching its peak intensity right now as it moves inland. But even though it's reaching its peak intensity, what's left of it coming on through is going to produce plenty of weather. So there we see it on the 500 millibar chart this morning, representing the atmosphere at about 18,000 feet. It's coming in. We've got some ridging building in behind it, and that's key because what we've seen here over the last several weeks is these systems coming into Canada but just zipping along west to east. But now they're going to come what we call cross latitude. They're going to go from a higher latitude to a lower latitude, opening the door to some changing weather conditions. We talked about occasional shower and thunderstorm activity across the region. This is where thunderstorms are forecasted to be most numerous today. Tomorrow, you see them showing up in the basin and up into near Yellowstone Park as that trough that we just showed you starts to move eastward. And then as we get into the day on Friday, shower and thunderstorm activity becomes a little bit more commonplace across the Intermountain West. But through this whole period, temperatures stay warm, temperatures stay comfortable. As we get into Friday, the low splits. The splitting low will cause this system to slide into California to near Tahoe by noon Mountain Time Friday. And this system is going to track along the U.S.-Canadian border, but take a east to southeast track. And this is going to come back up and join it again. So the system is splitting, then sort of merging again. And that merger will introduce deeper moisture from the south into the colder air coming in from the north as that high pressure builds in the eastern Pacific. And this all comes together by the weekend. So by Saturday, the southern low is near Salt Lake. This other low is coming in, and there are the wind barbs. There's the push. There's the push of colder air from northwest Canada towards the U.S.-Canadian border, and that really gets going on Saturday. And then by Sunday into Monday, we see the main trough go along the U.S.-Canadian border, but it's going to spill cold Canadian air right in behind it. Also, see this guy down here. We'll talk about this in a minute. There's going to be another tropical wave forming off the west coast of Mexico. That could complicate things in the long term, as we'll show you here in a moment. So with that cold air spilling in, moisture coming up from the south, where those two meet, we've got a nice ribbon of heavier moisture here, going all the way back from the Sierras, along Interstate 80 here, across the northern Great Basin, then across the northern half of Wyoming into North Dakota. So you see this ribbon here because that's where the contrast between the warmer moist air from the south and the colder air from the north coming on in. So there could be a pretty good amount of cold rain and, yes, maybe mixing in with some wet snow in the lower elevations, and certainly the higher elevations are going to do well. When we take a look at temperatures, we'll step you through where it's going to be the coldest. What I'm doing here is showing you temperatures in Celsius. The reason is it's easier to see freezing temperatures on this map when we display it in Celsius. Where you see gray, it's 0 Celsius or 32 degrees. So by Sunday morning, it's getting plenty cool out here, but the freezing temperatures are more in the higher elevations, but penetrating pretty far south. Look at the patches of gray there, even into the higher elevations of the Great Basin. And along the Wasatch here, by Monday morning, we've got 1s, 2s, 3s, and then some patches of the 32 degrees getting further south and into the lower elevations. And by Tuesday morning, the same thing. I would not be surprised if temperatures end up a little bit colder than this in some areas, especially up here, than what the model is showing. But needless to say, it's going to be cold enough that we're going to get this. The Bighorns, the Beartooths, the Wind Rivers, the Absarokas, even the high elevations of the Wasatch, the Front Range Mountains of Colorado and southern Wyoming, even into southwest Colorado's mountains, even the Sierras, you're going to see high elevation snow. Now, the deeper accumulating snow will still be pretty high. Nonetheless, hunters this weekend, Saturday night, Sunday into Monday, you need to be prepared for high elevation snow if you're headed out stalking the Wily Wapiti. If you look a little bit closer, zooming into Wyoming, Colorado, and this region a little bit more, you can see where the pinks are, where the snowfall is going to be the heaviest over the higher elevations. This goes basically from Saturday night through late Monday. Even the higher Black Hills could see some flakes of snow. Look at this. Will this happen in Nebraska? Maybe. This would just probably be snow mixing with the rain a little bit. So something to keep an eye on. Longer term. Now, once we get beyond this, this is where we talk about Really don't pay attention to your 5-day forecast beyond 5 days as you go out to 10 to 15 days. We still see this ridge of high pressure in the Eastern Pacific, which basically means the door is open to Canadian air masses. So by late next week, we've got potentially another cold shot coming in. And here's that tropical wave sneaking up the west coast of Mexico. We got to be careful. These are sneaky. You got to pay attention. But this system has the ability to curve back into the southwestern United States late next week ahead of this trough. Not saying it will. It has the potential. If it does, all of a sudden you're throwing a lot of subtropical air into the western United States at the same time bringing in cold air out of Canada. That causes a lot of weather. Whether or not it'll happen, I don't know, but it is on the table. And one reason why you're a little suspicious is the AI version of the European model has got a lot of a different story. It's got actually a hurricane, but it doesn't have the ridge. It's got a low underneath the ridge. I think the AI version is probably out to lunch here. Sometimes it will just go all wackadoodle on you. And I think this is probably closer to the solution. And that's supported by the GFS model and to some extent the Canadian model. But you can see that if you look at all 4 different solutions, they're all different, although there are some similarities. So stay tuned. Late next week and the following weekend, based on what we're seeing here, the weather could be very active. In the meantime, have your good first day of October. We'll see you tomorrow.